Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. I'm here with my best friend.
What's my name? My name's Chisanga.
So back here again, guys, with another question for all those people who are new to Christ and just for Christians, to give you guys topics and things to talk about, in the faith. And I want to know what you guys think, but today we'll be answering the question:
Can Christians and non-Christians date?
No.
Let's get to it.
So I would say it depends on what's important to
No.
you.
No, you cannot. Do not do it. Please educate us.
Because it depends on your faith and how important having a Christian partner is and how deep you are in the faith. Because I know quite a lot of people are quite deep and have a very strong relationship with God, that having a spouse or a partner that is not Christian is not the most ideal. But there's some people who are quite flexible and are quite open and are happy to be in a relationship with someone that is not Christian. Personally, from a Christian perspective, I would say the answer is a polite no. What about you, Chisanga?
I think that it's easier to be attracted to a non-Christian because you're not under a great cloud of witness constantly. I think it's easier to be with someone who's not going to be telling you to pray, or have you fasted? Have you spent time with God? Have you been generous? Have you tithed? And I feel like the reason why a lot of people nowadays end up with non-Christians is because they no longer want that accountability, or no longer feel like that accountability is necessary. Whereas without that accountability, then really you have no one who's walking the walk with you, and the race that you're meant to be running is now just a really slow walk.
That is so true. And I feel like a lot of the people that I know quite a lot of friends and family that have actually married non-Christians, and usually what happens is they end up after a while not believing in God, or they end up getting to a point in their faith where it's not that important to them, because obviously when you're with someone, you're vulnerable to that person. So if you can't even talk about a very essential part of your life with that person, it becomes more diluted and less important, and then they end up becoming non-Christians. Like one of my closest friends, she ended up dating a guy that was not Christian, and her faith seemed to have kind of fallen away from it. She just was like, I don't even think God is real and all that kind of stuff. Or sometimes she would relate to God, but it wasn't something that was essential to her anymore. Whereas when, as Chisanga said, when you're with someone, you have that accountability. And if we're gonna go into the Bible, the Bible itself says you should not be unequally yoked.
Well, so I think I always wondered, what in the world does unequally yoked mean? Because you read it a lot, and they put a picture up of cows back in the days, and they would have this almost this guard thing around their neck, and then it will be one guard, and then it will also be another guard. So when we're walking, you're walking at the same time with me, because we're connected. Whereas if you've got a big cow and a small cow, it was really difficult to be walking because you were also pulling that one, and there wasn't a level in the work that you were doing. It was always either hard, one person was always pulling someone down, or it was just really uncomfortable. It was just uneven. So when it says unequally yoked, it literally means you are not level, and one person's having to do a lot more work than the other person, which is really dangerous, because if you think about it, the partner that you're with, that's someone who you the whole point of relationship or marriage is that person has to take me to kingdom. That person is my soul partner, and they have to get me into heaven. So the person that you're with are they someone who everything they're doing, the way that they are, the way that, you know, the things that they say around you or whatever, like, are these things that are helping you see Jesus more? Are these things that are helping you get closer to Jesus more? And if you're unequally yoked or unleveled with that person, it's a lot harder, because the things that interest them, the things that they're like passionate for, that they're on fire for, are not going to be the same things that Jesus would have been on fire or passionate for.
That's true, and especially as a Christian, you're Christ-like, you're following Christ, and you want to live a life like Christ. So
Yeah.
if you're with someone who's living a life contrary, or doesn't even believe in Christ, then it will be very hard for you to continue to walk in
Yeah.
that journey as well.
100%. I think for me, I've been in a situation of both. So, like, I had an opportunity where I had the most perfect guy. I mean, amazing. Had a good job. He was fine. He was lovely. He was just a very kind human being. But when it came to things such as, like, I feel ill, or I feel like I'm having a spiritual attack, like, I feel like the devil's been telling me this, like, he couldn't understand that. It was like, oh, okay, well, like, what do you want, like, medication? Like, and do you know what I mean? Like, he couldn't get to a point where he was like, oh my goodness me, let's stand together in prayer. Let's, like, go against, you know, the principalities of this world and what they're what they're sending or what's being sent to you. It was more for everything needed to be logical, and, like, Jesus doesn't make sense.
That's
Christianity
true.
doesn't make sense. Like, he literally died and then rose again on the third day, and it makes no sense. He split, like, God split the Red Sea. He split a sea so people could walk through it. He split 5 loaves and 2 fish, 3 fish, 2 fish to feed thousands. Nothing makes sense. So I feel like if you're with someone who doesn't understand Jesus or hasn't fully understood the reason of Christianity, it's really hard for them to live a supernatural life with you, because they're living in the natural, they're living in logic, they're living in common sense, and I don't think Christianity makes much sense, really.
That's so true. That's true. And I'll say it was similar when I used to be in my dating site era, and I had this one guy that didn't believe in God, but he was perfect. He was so fun. He was so exciting. He was literally my personality. Like, I was like, I've been wanting a man like this, but he didn't believe in God. And it came to the point where I was even ashamed to mention God to him, because he would be like, come on, man. And in the times when I was actually down in my spiritual life, like, it was easier for us to kind of get together and have a relationship, because then we could get along. But then I wanted someone in that moment, if one of you falls down, the other should be there to pick you up and encourage you. And he wasn't that. He was just like, yeah, more reason for you not to believe in God, you know what I mean? Which for me affected my spiritual life. And if your spiritual life is really important to you, and having a relationship with God is important to you, you'd want someone that's gonna be able to, in that moment, be like, okay, let's pray about it. Let's try and get closer to God. What can we do about that?
100%. 100%. And also sex.
Oh, yeah.
Like, people that aren't Christians, or even some Christians, but mainly non-Christians, don't understand why we should wait for sex before marriage. And if you put someone who, let's say, like, Lulu's so for sex, like, let's have sex, like, we're together, I love you, like, this is how we consummate our relationship, this is how I show you that you're mine, type of thing. Or it's like, I'm like, no, Jesus, I love Jesus. This is how I consummate my relationship with him, by being obedient. And I want to be, you know, I want to fully give myself to Jesus before I fully give myself, obviously not same sex, guys, obviously, if Lulu was a man, but, you know, like, in that same way. And with a non-Christian, like, again, this absolutely perfect, amazing guy, like, of course, like, you know, sex is
not that deep.
Yeah, sex is normal. You know what I mean?
You know what I mean? Like let's grow up.
Sex is absolutely normal. And whereas, like, when we come to a point where we fully understand, like, oh, actually, I now really understand the damage sex has before before marriage and what it can do in the relationship. If you're with a non-Christian, they're never going to understand that, and it's always easier to fall than to rise. It's easier to go down the stairs than to climb up them. So if you've had sex with that person and you've tasted the fruit, it is so damn hard to then be like, no, I want Jesus. It's so hard because that person's like, oh well, we've done it before now.
What's
So
the point?
what are you,
like you're
do you know
not
what I mean?
virgin anymore, so who cares?
Like, what's the
That's
difference?
true.
But then if someone says that to you, think about it. If a thief comes out of prison and obviously they went in because they used to steal all the time, they don't need to stay a thief. Like, they don't need to stay stealing. Like, the whole reason is that they're trying to do better, they're trying to change. Even if you have a past, it doesn't mean it needs to stay the same. Like,
That's
God
true.
looks at you as a new person every single day.
That is
And
so
I don't
true.
think that someone telling you, oh well, you've done it before, should be a reason to stay in your sin, should be a reason to stay where you are. I think in fact it should actually be like, you know what, yeah, I have done it before and I want to do better. Therefore,
Love it.
I wanna move forward with Jesus. So
I love that. So that's a really, really good answer, guys. And I hope that we've actually answered the question, but we want to know what are you guys' thoughts? What
Yeah.
do you guys think about a Christian dating a non-Christian?
yeah.
So don't forget, guys, put in the comments, and we will see you in our next video.
Later.